I am Kevin Saunderson. Juan Atkins and Derek May, along with myself, was credited for the creation of this music that started in Detroit and went throughout the world. A music called techno. Our style was more for the dance floor. It was very, very basic music, but it was very effective and very powerful.
My name is Jason Huvaere. I've been promoting electronic music in Detroit since 1993. I've had the pleasure of working with a lot of great people under the project named Paxahau. Summer '93, a lot of us lived together in a building called 1217 Griswold. There was 23 residents. We had people over every weekend. We got to a point where we were probably doing about 500 or 600 people a weekend. Events started to kind of spread out around the city. We did do stuff in crazy places and we used crazy production, but we were a safe crowd. It was really a nomadic, simple group of people that really only cared about gathering around this sound.
When you add a sound system that's a super gigantic, big sound with big bass coming through, it was easy for people to gather and dance to it. It captured people. It's all about love and the music and people being together.
Everything that came out of that is what ultimately developed into the culture. In that momentum, it also attracted some people that maybe weren't part of the scene or maybe didn't come up in the scene. People that really were out of their element, attempting to produce underground parties in Detroit. It's just a total recipe for disaster. In the fall of 1995, a promoter thought it would be a good idea to hire a cameraman to shoot his underground party. That cameraman ended up putting those photos in the media the next day, along with a very negatively written account of what these events were all about.
This is a dangerous groups that we're dealing with now.
I remember where I was and who I was with the first time I saw the cover of the paper. We looked at it, we squinted, we walked over, we dropped our quarter in, we pulled it out, and we knew right then it was over. The underground scene had basically outgrown its early stages. There have been people that have, started to integrate the techno house scene a little bit closer into the club scene at that point, which was mostly to the conduit of Motor. I would say Motor is without question one of the most legendary clubs in Detroit.
My name is Dan Sordyl. I was the head of operations of Motor nightclub. Motor brought it from the rave scene to the mainstream.
Motor was like the catcher's net that took all that momentum that had started in the early 90s and all the displaced people of the rave parties, and it put them in a solid address that was a safe place to go. And Dan and his crew really understood the history of electronic music and the direction of electronic music.
Yeah, I'd like to say that Motor kind of captured a moment in time. I mean, there were people in, evening gowns. And there were kids in fat pants. It was the mindset by a lot of people that were involved in the making of it. The attitude at the door, the people that worked there, the people that were helping promote, like the Paxahau guys did a bunch of shows there all the time. People from so many different areas and genres, and it was amazing.
During its reign, it was host to every major Detroit and out-of-town DJ in the circuit. Almost the saving grace of the entire electronic music community post 1995.
Well, here I am running Motor in Detroit, biggest electronic music venue in Detroit. Sold out nights, lines around the block, it was crazy. And then Carl Craig comes out with, hey, I want to do this festival. Can you guys sponsor a stage? So absolutely we could.
Carl Craig was the development of the first festival to the electronic music community. The idea of the festival, the programming of the festival, and he was also the liaison between the city of Detroit and the electronic music community.
My name is Carl Craig. I produce music. I'm a DJ, a remixer, record producer, born and raised in Detroit. The festival came from a desire of myself and other fellow musicians to see something like this happen. We have been talking about it for years.
From Juan's first record in '83, we were traveling overseas. I had several hits. Derek May had massive records. People in America were just missing the boat. They just didn't have a clue. The birth of this festival helped bring credibility to what we have been doing and the success we were having.
The idea of it, of giving this homage to the birthplace of techno, is such a beautiful thing. Talking to people who did know what was going on, I could hear their excitement. But also on the other hand, I got, yeah, good luck with that. Never gonna happen.
I think the reaction was twofold. In Detroit, we can be a little jaded about things because we're so used to not having a lot, or somebody say that they're going to do something and it doesn't happen. Unfortunately, there are politics in cities. It almost really didn't happen. There were a lot of roadblocks within the city government.
People weren't fighting against us, but they weren't helping us either. It was like, okay, this is a great idea. Like I said, you know, good luck with that. Actually, I don't know if anyone even remembers this. Do you know why this started? It was a fundraiser for the city of Detroit for their Be a Partner program for the Parks and Recreation. The city was fronting the money. Stages are up, you know, lights are up, dressing's up, everything, artists are flying in, and we didn't have any money. Luckily,
Lisa Webb Sharp, I think she might have been third in charge, at the final hour went to Freeman Hendricks and said, you know, this has got to happen.
We didn't get the check until 2 days before the festival. I remember getting the check, bolting across Hart Plaza in high heels to hand the check off so it could be deposited in the bank.
So Saturday morning, after 12 o'clock, people went down. Yeah, there's nobody down there. There's not so many people down there, blah, 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 blah. About like 5 o'clock, people were running in like, my God, this is great. There are people down there.
People dancing everywhere, everywhere people are dancing. I knew that the festival was going to be successful. It was beyond my wildest dreams, really. It definitely was the coming of age of techno in Detroit.
For those of us that had been working so many years within this community, to see tens of thousands of people surrounded by law enforcement, being protected by law enforcement, it was just a complete reverse polarity of how we were raised. I can specifically remember being backstage during the closing performances and seeing multiple people choked up.
Just crying my eyes out, just like the fact that we pulled it off. You know, we pulled it off under like every obstacle you could possibly imagine. The hardest, most painful, exhausting experience, but when it was all over, I mean, I would do it again. There is nothing I've ever experienced than standing up on the stage, looking down into the bowl, and like just seeing this sea of people and smiling. Oh, people were just like, ah, going crazy. It was just like, oh, God.
Just watching the crowd, the atmosphere, the love, the spirit, the joy that was going on, and it was just quite amazing. There's some great places all around the world that I played, some quite amazing places. But Hart Plaza, you right in the heart of a city, and then it's our city.
As a teenager, I had fantasies of playing there. You know, I saw great musicians play there, and then I'm standing on the stage watching thousands and thousands of people, and it really was a fantastic thing. I think, you know, Stace, Kenny Larkin, and I, we just all hugged, you know, because it was like, we're here. It's happened. We're here. This is what we've always wanted.
When Carl Craig was fired, it was like the earth cracked in Detroit.